all-nighter. Street magic, chopped in silence. Cali Azul on the beat. Need y'all to take a ride with me. I'm just a kid from Fall River, what I know. Riding through my city that they're gentrifying, market rate housing while there's homeless dying. And I know that they're trying cause this program's out there, but I ain't reaching out there, they ain't reaching out there. Empty storefronts, internet to blame, gotta move different if nothing is the same. Entertainment venues, bringing nightlife, transparent police, body cams that's live, I mean live stream they whole shift. Personal info can censor it, even though when involving police it becomes public info. But that's a different topic for a different tempo. Back to my city that they're gentrifying, panhandlers on the Ave and the addicts dying, parents crying, losing kids, half my generation that are doing bids. So how are we gonna get to the youth, teach them right and wrong when not to shoot? Started young in kindergarten, mental health class, your brain's a garden. Teach them all about their feelings. The senior year, let's start the healing. Since tech's here to stay, let's teach with VR, let's build that way. But what do I know? What can I say? I'm just a kid from Fall River. It's just my observations, chopped in silence. Cali Azul on the beat. It's all-nighter.
The Fall River Public Library proudly presents his 2026. The Fall River Public Library proudly presents his 2026 summer reading program, Amazing Things Happen at the Library, sponsored by Rockland Trust Bank and the Friends of the Fall River Public Library. What's so amazing about the library, you ask? Well, one thing is, we have our own friendly book drop monster. He's ready to take your library books whenever you return them to the Fall River Public Library.
A tasket, and I drop the book off in a basket. Mr. Book Monster, I have a book for you.
Thank you.
Most libraries will tell you there's nothing in those great big boxes, but I'm here to tell you differently. They arrive to work every morning to receive your books and bring them into the library so you don't have to. You can submit your suggestion for a perfect name for the Fall River Public Library's own Library Book Drop Monster at this year's summer kickoff on June 30th at 11 o'clock on the front lawn of the library. This summer, our kickoff will feature the Toe Jam Puppet Band performing at 11 o'clock right on the library's front lawn. Bring a blanket, a picnic lunch, and enjoy the entertainment. Also, sign up for this year's 7-week Summer Reading Club, another amazing thing that the library has to offer. What else is amazing, you ask? Well, throughout those 7 weeks, we have a wonderful selection of children's events and other exciting family programs. Puppet shows, magic shows, animal shows, story times. You can visit the library's online summer schedule to find out what's happening at the library. Or drop by the children's room and pick up a schedule. Know exactly what's happening throughout the summer. We hope to see you this year at the Fall River Public Library's summer reading program, Amazing Things Happen at the Library.
All-nighter. Street magic, chopped in silence. Cali Azul on the beat. Need y'all to take a ride with me. I'm just a kid from Fall River, what I know. Riding through my city that they're gentrifying, market rate housing while there's homeless dying. And I know that they're trying cause this program's out there, but they ain't reaching out there, they ain't reaching out there. Empty storefronts, internet to blame, gotta move different if nothing is the same. Entertainment venues, bringing nightlife, transparent police, body cams that's live, I mean live stream they whole shift. Personal info can censor it, even though when involving police it becomes public info. But that's a different topic for a different tempo. Back to my city that they're gentrifying, panhandlers on the Ave and the addicts dying, parents crying, losing kids, half my generation that are doing bids. So how are we gonna get to the youth, teach them right and wrong when not to shoot? Started young in kindergarten, mental health class, your brain's a garden. Teach them all about their feelings till senior year, let's start the healing. Since tech's here to stay, let's teach with VR, less bills that way. But what do I know? What can I say? I'm just a kid from Fall River. It's just my observations, chopped in silence. Kelly Azul on the beat. Soul Nighter. What up, what up, what up, everybody? It's your boy, Aaron All-Nighter. This is the Four Experience, episode 5. Make sure you share this out to your news feeds, groups, tag people in a post, tag people in the comment section. It is highly appreciated. Share this to a group. If you're an admin of a group or moderator, you can share this to the group and put at everyone. It highlights everyone in the group. Again, highly appreciated. Streaming this live on 3 destinations, 2 platforms, on Facebook, on the Four Experience, and Aaron All-Nighter Facebook page, and on YouTube, on Street Magic Multimedia. So follow, subscribe, turn on notifications. Let's try to get this episode out to at least 100, 200, 300 shares. Now, we start each and every episode with the weather. That way, if you haven't been outside yet today, you can see if it's a beautiful day or a horrible day, more than just looking at your phone or looking out the window. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
What are we looking at this week?
Yeah, today's a continuation of the weekend. Then the heat is on for a few days this week. Looking at a potential heat wave, but it's nice out there right now. It's actually a little coolish in spots. Block Island, really pretty sky, a deep orange and red right there on the horizon. Block Island, similar kind of view. Temperatures along the coast, at least in Narragansett, 67 degrees. Temperatures across the area are in the upper 50s to low 60s. New Bedford, Taunton in the mid 50s this morning. Another cool start. Yesterday was pretty cool as well. High temperatures today. We're expecting a high right around 84. That's the average for the day. Kind of a typical July day today. Low temperature will likely be right around 62 in Providence. Sunrise this morning, 5:23. We'll obviously be able to see that sunset. They're getting earlier and earlier. We've lost about 4 minutes at the end of the day. Warm, dry weather expected for your Monday. But looking ahead, we have a heat advisory for Tuesday and Wednesday. In terms of rainfall, I don't see a whole bunch this week, maybe a couple of showers here and there. Here's the muggy meter. Now today, a little bit muggy with dew points getting into the low 60s, but for Tuesday, the humidity, at least in the mid 60s, could actually reach the 70s as we go into Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday, still a little bit muggy, but look at Thursday. I'm thinking we're going to hit 90 degrees on Thursday, but look at the dew points. They really drop off for Thursday. Satellite radar picture really quiet across the Northeast. That's the way it should stay for most of the day. But as we go into the afternoon, notice there could be just a quick little shower north and west of Providence, and that's it. I think the rest of the area should remain dry and warm, kind of warm tonight. Tomorrow, hot, humid. Notice we're not really looking at any showers or storms in our area, but up in northern New England, and there could be some nasty storms tomorrow night and into early on Wednesday with some beefy thunderstorms moving through there. Wednesday afternoon, I think we're dry and I'll likely staying dry right into Thursday. Forecast for today, temperatures are going to top out around 84. As you saw, that's pretty normal for this time of year. It's going to be dry, winds picking up a little bit in the afternoon from the southwest. Out on the beaches, mainly sunny, dry, up around 78 in the afternoon. Surf really low today, 2 to 3 feet. Rip current risk as a result is low. Out on the bay, winds from the southwest picking up 5 to 15 knots in the afternoon, gusting to 20. We're sunny and dry all day long. Waves 1 to maybe up to 3 feet in the afternoon in the bay. Visibility's fine. High tide 7:21 this morning, and low tides at 20 minutes to 1 this afternoon. Now for tonight, I think it's continued dry with partly cloudy skies. Overnight low temperatures getting down to about 66. And for tomorrow, starting a potential heat wave. We're looking at high temperatures up around 93 degrees. We'll have hazy sunshine. It will be a pretty good breeze tomorrow, though. Wind from the southwest, 10 to 20 miles an hour, maybe some gusts to 25. So yeah, we've got a heat advisory in effect starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. and it continues on Wednesday as well. We could be looking at heat index values that feel like temperature up to 103 degrees both Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, looking at a high around 90, but as you saw, the dew points, the humidity levels really low on Thursday. So probably not looking at any heat advisory, but it could make it an official heat wave. Mainly sunny, dry Friday. Right now the weekend overall looks good. There's a chance for some late day showers on Saturday. Sunday looks dry, high around 85. We've got your entire forecast broken down day by day. You can get it right now for free by downloading our Pinpoint Weather 12 app.
So it looks like it's going to be nice, hot, warm, and humidity is not that bad. It actually looked really low. So it's going to be a hot day, but it's not going to be muggy and sticky. Interesting for New England. Now, got to start this off with unfortunate news. 17-year-old passed away last night after being pulled from the water. Check this out. We'll talk about it.
Breaking news this morning, a 17-year-old boy has drowned in South Watuppa Pond in Fall River.
The Bristol County District Attorney's Office announced the deadly development a little more than an hour ago. The incident, one of several from this weekend, that's bringing new attention to water safety this summer. Joe Cortez joins us with more. Joe.
Well, Kate Patrick, emergency crews say that these water emergencies can develop in seconds, and between the Fall River situation as well as the search in Lincoln Woods, it's a reminder that boaters and residents need to take caution near the water. This all transpired Sunday. It happened around 9:30 at night. The 17-year-old who could not be located in South Watuppa Pond, police say the teen was with two other juveniles in the area. Two of them entered the water to swim to a floating dock, but the 17-year-old struggled and did not return to shore. The search brought in multiple agencies. State police divers found the teenager around 11:35 Sunday night. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The Bristol County District Attorney's Office says foul play is not suspected and the investigation remains active. This comes as first responders also searched the waters at Lincoln Woods State Park this weekend after a swimmer was reported missing there.
We had up to 9 divers in the water at one point and multiple boats because it's a large pond that we're working with. We're at that time of the year when everyone is out in the water. Just make sure they use their proper safety. This includes boater safety, but also when they're in the swim area, make sure you're always swimming with a friend.
Now, the identity of the 17-year-old.
The identity was not disclosed. It was a 17-year-old. RIP, condolences and prayers to the family. These incidences can happen really fast, like the fire chief was saying. Be careful when you're out on the water, especially you think you got it. You might not got it. More bad news to start the episode off with. Check this out. We'll talk about it. Local man killed in a late night motorcycle crash is being remembered. Photo of the man right there. According to the Rhode Island State Police, approximately 11 p.m. on Thursday, State Police and Fire Department responded to a reported single motorcycle crash on Route 195 West at Exit 1C, South Main Street in Providence. Upon arrival, troopers determined that the motorcycle had been attempting to take the Exit 1C off-ramp from Route 195 West when the operator lost control and struck a concrete barrier. The operator, identified as 38-year-old Anthony J. Fiadanca of Fall River, good friend of Fiadanca, described him as an awesome guy and an amazing friend. We were friends for a very long time, and we always had each other's back, always giving a helping hand, even when he didn't have it himself, just a genuine good person. Fiadanca loved cars and BMX bikes. If he wasn't working on them, he was riding them, and, well, recently having a good showing at Seekonk Speedway. His friend told us that if he wasn't working on a car, he was probably at a skate park somewhere. Services for Fiadanca have not yet been announced. So condolences, prayers to the family. Everybody drive safe out there, please. Speaking of safety, when you're home in your house, you feel safe, right? Recently, there's a video going viral of a Fall River home being broken into and burglarized. Somebody put one of those shiesty masks on and broke in looking for the safe, got the safe. But while they were looking for the safe, they also looked at the camera. Check this out. We'll talk about it. Look at him, just looking around, not even covering his face. Got his nose all out. This one, whole face exposed. What's the point of the mask? Why did you even wear the mask if you didn't cover your face with it? Was your chin and forehead cold? What the fuck was the point? Was you having a hard time breathing? Goes down in like America's Dumbest Criminals. It's one of those incidents. You got the mask, but you just don't wear it properly to cover the face. Got it. Makes sense. Moving along. Check this out. We'll talk about it. One in custody after afternoon stabbing at Fall River homeless encampment. Right there. Female stabbed her boyfriend. One was injured and another arrested after a stabbing incident on Friday. According to scanner transmissions, before 5:30 p.m., a call came into dispatch for a girlfriend who stabbed her boyfriend in Tent City off of Brayton Avenue. It's a wild world we live in. You know, Fall River girls will stab you. Be careful. Now, with that being said, this next thing I'm going to discuss is, I believe, going to be a hot topic. It's going to start some shit for the next few weeks, ruffle some feathers, big development in the city. Check this out. We'll talk about it. Fall River government page on Facebook posted the demolition of the old police station will begin today. We ask that residents please temporarily avoid the Bedford Street, Troy Street, High Street area. More details to come on the timeline of this project. If you have any questions, please contact Inspectional Services 508-324-2500. And then posted this flyer. Now, the Fall River Preservation Society's Facebook page posted that the city has posted this notice the day of demolition without any details on the timeline, inspection reports completed, or commitments to salvage architectural features of the building. The demolition is also beginning before the city has responded to the Preservation Society's overdue public records request for evidence from the city that this is an emergency requiring $1.4 million in taxpayer funds. So the Preservation Society wants to make sure that, hey, we really have to demolish this building. And that it's an emergency and we need to do it now. That way, it can excuse for the $1.4 million. However, when they made a public records request, it hasn't even been responded to. And then when they wanted to slow down the demolition of the police station, because they had their questioning, the city sped up the timeline. Now, when something's fishy, it's fishy. Okay. I don't know why they rushing the building. There might be a potential buyer of the property after it's demolished. Who knows? They're talking about that area being either green space or parking spaces. So, who knows? I do want to know, how do you feel about the demolition of the old Forward Police Station? Do you feel like it's gotta go? Or do you feel like somebody is going to drop millions of dollars to renovate it? I personally think it's gotta go. I mean, I've been inside the building since it's been abandoned. And it is horrible inside. The conditions, you're not renovating it. Just if you were to renovate it, you'd keep the walls and gut everything inside. And that's going to cost a lot of money. Hence why we're demolishing it. Now, moving along, today marks 1 year since the tragic Gabriel House fire. We're going to get into a few Gabriel House related videos and news clips as there's a ceremony in front of the Gabriel House tonight at 6:30. Check this out. We'll talk about it.
Today, also in Fall River, marks 1 year since the deadly Gabriel House fire.
Tragedy claiming the lives of 10 people left the community forever changed. Eric Ritchie live right now outside of the assisted living facility as we reflect on the past 12 months.
And guys, it's as if this scene is frozen in time. Take a look behind me here. This is the Gabriel House assisted living facility. You see the fencing is still up, the windows still boarded up, and the memorial flowers are still in place, marking the lives lost here 1 year ago today. 9 people died when that fire broke out that night. A 10th passed away a few days later. It was the deadliest fire in Massachusetts in over 40 years. And investigators say they may never be able to say exactly how it started, since the resident who lived in the room where it ignited passed away. But the fire marshal says it's likely a failed oxygen tank or improper disposal of smoking materials that are to blame. But today is not about looking back at what went wrong. It's about commemorating the actions that led to 58 people being saved that night and the courage that they have had over the last year to press on.
They literally saved my life. They gave me I've been given a second chance at life. You know, and you don't often get that. Even the neighbors, I mean, they came running with blankets and drinks. I don't want to remember how these people died. That's bad enough. I want to remember how they lived. You know, that's what, it's the best way for me to go.
And that's what each of these flowers here at the memorial at the Gabriel House is representing: the lives lived by the 10 individuals who passed away and the lives of those who survived. Like I said, 58 people were pulled from this building that night and have had to find a way to move on with every step, every day over the last year. They are going to be honored tonight at a ceremony that's going to be taking place right here in front of the property at 6:30 p.m. The fire chief will be here, members of the community, the mayor will be here, and those survivors are going to be honored. The lives lost will be honored as well. Also today, there is a blood drive happening from 12 to 5 at White's of Westport here in Fall River, where they're able to once again commemorate this 1-year anniversary. And coming up next half hour, we're going to hear from the fire chief. He joined us live at 5:30 talking about the difference that his department is trying to make when it comes to both state and national regulations when it comes to the fire code. We'll hear from him when I see you right back here next half hour. For now, live in Fall River, Erica Ritchie, 12 News.
Marks a somber anniversary in Fall River, 1 year since the Gabriel House fire claimed the lives of 10 people, leaving many more hurt and without a place to live.
Before the community comes together tonight, hearing from the Fall River Fire Chief on the changes that have happened over these last 12 months. Since then, Erica Ritchie joining us live in Fall River right now. Erica.
Well, guys, good morning. You know, when a tragedy goes down in history, actions are almost immediately taken to make sure something like that never happens again. And here at the Gabriel House was no different. So just last Friday, the governor's office here in Massachusetts announced comprehensive new safety regulations for assisted living facilities in the Bay State that her administration is calling some of the most significant changes in years. It requires annual inspections of all fire safety training at all assisted living facilities, along with requiring them to have emergency equipment like AEDs on site at all times and train staff to use them. And over the past year, Fall River officials, the fire officials rather, have been pushing to change the fire code to specifically look for recalled sprinklers and, if found, call for replacement or repair. Of course, the sprinkler system failed to activate in the Gabriel House last year, and it was later discovered that the sprinkler heads were recalled more than 20 years ago.
We need to honor the memory of the lives lost here, and we need to make sure that no other fire department or city has to go through what we went through here. Our fire prevention division, immediately after the fire, started aggressively looking at high-risk occupancies in the city, and we discovered more occupancies that had the same sprinkler heads that caused the issue in Gabriel House here. And I think that momentum led the fire prevention division to draft, Captain Josh Hetzler, to draft an amendment to the National Fire Safety Code and the State Fire Safety Code to really close the loophole where we're going to require licensed sprinkler professionals as part of their annual inspection to identify recalled heads, damaged heads, and then that will generate a red flag for us where we will be able to come in and rectify the situation before something like this happens.
And the chief says that that process is gaining traction, but it is a process, so we'll continue to track that for you. In the meantime, today is about remembering the lives lost here and those who have taken one step in front of the other every day over the last year to survive the tragedy. That is going to happen tonight at a remembrance ceremony right here outside of the facility at 6:30 p.m. In addition to that, at White's of Westport today from 12 to 5, there's a blood drive in honor of this 1-year anniversary. For all of those different ways that you can continue to support the Fall River community, you can check out our website, WPRI.com. That's the latest live in Fall River. Erica Ritchie, 12 News.
So, unfortunately, 10 lives were lost. The sprinklers were recalled and had been recalled over 20 years ago. We need these checks and balances in these buildings to make sure things get done right. Lives are at stake. It's not just, hey, it's laziness or procrastination. Those sprinklers that were recalled would have got fully reimbursed and installed because of the recall. And it just never happened. That's unfortunate. But Massachusetts did some things at the state level just after the Gabriel House fire, unfortunately. And here's some of those things. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
The tragedy at the Gabriel House put a spotlight on concerns about assisted living residences in Massachusetts, specifically how they're regulated very differently than places like hospitals and nursing homes. Now, the governor says these new regulations are a move to close that gap and provide new protections for people in assisted living. Now, the final regulations include annual fire inspections conducted by local fire departments, annual fire safety instructions for staff, enhanced emergency plans filed with local fire departments and the state, and simulated evacuation exercises every year on every shift. I asked the governor if more needs to be done.
We'll continue to stay on top of this, but important now that, you know, we have really set forward what should be the gold standard for assisted living facilities when it comes to safety.
The reforms take effect on July 31st. They do not address the recalled sprinklers at the center of the Gabriel House investigation. As we've reported, experts believe millions of these faulty devices could be in buildings nationwide. In the newsroom, Karen Anderson, 5 Investigate.
Most likely is. There probably is millions of recalled fire sprinklers that nobody is, dealing with. And that's sad. It's infuriating, especially since it's assisted living centers. Unfortunately, this is how the government treats people that it doesn't benefit from. Now, some of the survivors of the Gabriel House fire have reunited with the first responders who saved their lives. We have video. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
And those who survived have been living with the excruciating memories. Many of them are now in various nursing homes, and they've never had the opportunity to meet the people who saved them until this moment.
I need bodies and ladders.
Hello?
I saw nothing but black smoke.
We got someone?
I couldn't see my hand.
Starting rescue operations. Send me everybody.
I didn't think I was going to make it.
Survivors of the Gabriel House fire sharing the terrors they faced the night of July 13th, 2025.
It was like hell. It was terribly hot and smoke. It was horrendous. I could hear all the other people were yelling and standing. It was really sad.
Can you hear me?
The scene captured on police body cam video as first responders fought their way through smoke-filled halls, breaking through doors.
I put my arms around the fireman, and he carried me down 3 flights of stairs.
Climbing up to the second and third floor windows of the Fall River assisted living residence, trying to rescue the people inside.
And I was going to jump out the window, but the fire department came and saved me. I mean, I remember every second of that night. The firemen, the EMTs, the police, the neighbors, everybody came running. Everybody.
Michael Pimentel was in his second floor room when he heard the fire alarm.
When I opened my door, I couldn't see anything. Anything. Left, right, up, down, nothing.
The double amputee got his prosthetic legs and went to the window.
I got the bottom window out, and then the fireman was there to help me with the top.
He made it out, but lost almost everything. For the past 6 months, he's been rebuilding his life in a nursing home with some of the other Gabriel House survivors.
Right here. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
They've never seen any of the firefighters and first responders who saved their lives that night until now.
I want to thank the firefighters. They saved my life and saved all our lives. Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's so good.
I'm so happy to see you.
Michael was overwhelmed with emotion as he met 3 of the firefighters who were there.
They saved lives, including mine, and I'll never be able to thank them enough. Never.
There was one more person Michael wanted to see, the firefighter who met him at the window and helped get him out.
And hopefully, I may meet him today.
Have you seen him?
No,
Is he here?
not yet. I don't know.
They left no one behind.
Diane Noiso brought her brother Dave, hoping to see the firefighters who rescued him. Dave, who's diagnosed with schizophrenia, was cowering in his room on the 3rd floor when they pulled him out.
Are you the one I pulled out on my shoulder? Yeah. You were the man, all right.
Oh my God. Come on. What's up, buddy?
And just as the day was winding down,
I've been wanting to meet you for so long.
the moment Michael Pimentel had been waiting for. Why did you want to see him?
He saved my life. I have to thank him.
And what's this like?
Over the top. It's just like, wow, I'm so grateful to him.
What's the bond that you share now?
Oh, I think we'll be friends the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I'll never forget that moment.
No, not at all. I don't think any of us will.
And right there, you saw how meaningful those moments were to the survivors. Their gratitude and appreciation also had a powerful impact on the first responders who were at the Gabriel House that night.
It means so much because I feel like I failed, right? Like a lot of us feel we failed.
So this was also about turning pain into a sense of pride. Tonight at 11, the healing for first responders and memories they share from that dark day that still haunt them. That is tonight, only on News Center 5 at 11.
And I can guarantee it's going to be tough for these firefighters to get over it and get past this trauma. However, I think situations like that, them connecting with the people who they saved, is good not only for the firefighters, but for the people they saved. Now, moving along, check this out. We'll talk about it. 4th annual Block Party Palooza coming to Fall River with free games, music, entertainment, backpacks, and school supplies. Health First has announced a new date for its 4th annual Block Party, a free community event that will officially kick off National Community Health Center Week. This event will now be held on Sunday, August 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Health First Family Center, 387 Corey Street. The event was originally scheduled for August 8th, but after reviewing the local community calendar, Health First made the decision to move the event to avoid conflicts with other major city events and ensure families have the best opportunity to attend. Our goal is to bring the community together, said Dr. Lisa Jones, President and CEO of Health First Family Care Center. By moving the event to August 2nd, we're creating an opportunity for more families to enjoy a fun morning together while connecting with valuable community resources as we celebrate National Community Health Center Week. The Block Party Palooza has become one of Health First's signature community events, welcoming hundreds of families each year for a morning of fun, education, and support. Free event will feature free backpacks and school supplies for students while supplies last, family-friendly games, activities, music, entertainment, and resources. Health First encourages families to arrive early as backpacks and school supplies will be distributed while supplies last. Doesn't mean show up, pull up at the end of the event and expect a backpack. They probably will be out. So it's first come, first serve. Now, keeping this going, City Councilor Michael Canuel decided to make a resolution to try to restore state funding for Mace Playground and veteran services. Check this out. We'll talk about it. For City Councilor to introduce resolution to restore funding for Mace Playground, Veterans Kitchen, and the Fall River Council on Aging. There's City Councilor right there, Michael Canuel. He's calling on state lawmakers to reinstate full funding for 3 key community projects that were cut significantly during the Beacon Hill budget process. In a resolution, he highlights requests made by State Rep. Alan Sylvia for $100,000 to develop a sensory-friendly autism playground, $50,000 to support the Veterans Kitchen, which provides hot meals and assistance to local veterans, and $25,000 to support the Fall River Council on Aging. All 3 requests were reduced to just $10,000 each in the Mass House of Representatives budget, with some wondering if it's retaliation for State Rep. Alan Sylvia's support of the legislative audit. While Canuel is encouraged by the community efforts to help fund the sensory-friendly autism playground, he doesn't believe that local fundraising should replace the state funding that was originally requested. The council resolution states that the importance of the 3 initiatives for children with disabilities, veterans, and senior citizens. It also urges the Speaker of the House and the Fall River legislative delegation to work together to restore these projects. These projects represent important investments in the well-being of Fall River residents. The resolution was sent a certified copy of the resolution to Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, the House Speaker, and the local legislative delegation. The next City Council meeting is scheduled to take place tomorrow at City Hall at 5:55 p.m. immediately after the Public Works and Transportation meeting, 5:30 p.m. start if it runs past 5:55. So, I applaud City Councilor Michael Canuel for saying, you know what, this was a line item that's important to Fall River. And to a demographic that's in need, whether it be elderly, veterans, or autistic children. It's all demographics that we should care about. So it was a slap in the face from the state when they said, no, slash these line items. So I like that Michael Canuel was putting this resolution together to put it in front of the governor herself, the lieutenant governor, and have them get a look at the request and what it's for. It's kind of like going above somebody to get something done, because the person that you went to originally couldn't get it done. So now you got to go above them to get it done. That's what City Councilor Michael Canuel was doing, and I applaud that. Another thing I applaud, moving on, everybody donating to help make Mays Playground become a reality. Check this out. We'll talk about it. Thanks to Mohammed Kara of Quick Fuel Stop at 861 Main Street in Tiverton for stepping up to support Mays Playground with a $500 donation. State leadership reduced funding to Mays Playground to punish Alan Sylvia for voting for the audit, but the community is stepping up. There's a picture of the check right there. Also, thanks to the Flint Neighborhood Association for stepping up to support Mays Playground with $2,000. Again, the state leadership reduced funding to Mays Playground to punish Alan Sylvia for voting for the audit. There's the picture right there. So, guys, let's make this a reality. Whether the state pays for it, the city pays for it, the community pays for it, let's get it done. Now, speaking of community, it's always good to see a glimpse into the past. Now, recently there was some demolition going down on Morgan Street, and a city resident posted this. Check it out. We'll talk about it. That's not it. Anyways, that wasn't it. They posted a vintage Quahog sign on a building that was getting demolished on Morgan Street. Pretty cool. It'll be on the page later. Unfortunately, I got the wrong slide prepared. Whoops. Now, one big thing that Fall River should embrace and talk about is one of our historical legends of Lizzie Borden. Now, Lizzie Borden, we know, has gone national, international. A lot of people know. Well, Netflix has a TV show called Monster. You may have seen or heard of it. They did a whole series, a season on Jeffrey Dahmer, one on the Menendez brothers, one on Ed Gein, and their upcoming season is on Lizzie Borden. This is what we know so far. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
Season 4 of the Monster series is something that's already been confirmed, and it's Lizzie Borden. Following the success of Dahmer in 2022, what was originally supposed to be a limited one-off series, after then becoming one of the most watched TV series on the platform ever, it birthed the beginning of the Monster series. Dahmer, the Menendez brothers, and Ed Gein have been the three so far, the 70s, the late 80s, and the 1950s, but this next installment, which is set to be focused on Lizzie Borden, is going to be set in the late 1800s. It's a completely different time period. This isn't only the first female suspected killer that the show's going to be focused on, but it's also the first that took place in the 1800s. With this being the last confirmed series at the moment, I wanted to take a look at all that was out there and share everything that's known about the suspected killer and the upcoming show. So let's get into it. Here is Monster Season 4, the Lizzie Borden story, Everything We Know. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The story and real-life case of Lizzie Borden. The real-life story is one that proves to be interesting. Coming from a wealthy family, Lizzie Borden lived with her father and her mother, Andrew Borden and Sarah Borden, up until her mother's death. It was following her mother's death where Andrew met a new woman named Abby Gray and married her 3 years after his previous wife had died. Lizzie's father Andrew and stepmother Abby are the two murdered victims that the show will be centered around, and Lizzie will be the suspect. Within real life, Lizzie was the one that was accused for the crimes of killing both her father and her stepmother with a hatchet. Abby was struck 17 times, and it was said that her father was struck around 10 times. There was said to have been tension between Lizzie and the family, especially due to the fact that her father was distributing property that they owned to members of Abby's family, almost making it seem like he was more in touch with them than he was with his own daughters, and it tied into the theory around Abby marrying Andrew for his wealth. It was also said that Andrew killed multiple pigeons in his barn with a hatchet because he believed that they carried infection and diseases, which Lizzie was unhappy with because she'd built a roost for them around that time. When the killings took place, it was said that Lizzie was inside of the house carrying out her regular chores of cleaning the guest room when Abby went upstairs to make the bed. This was then when Abby was killed, sometime between 9 and 10:30 in the morning. It was then said that Andrew returned home at about 10:30 AM and he took a nap. Whilst he was asleep, he was struck around 10 times with a hatchet as well. When it came to the investigation, Lizzie's answers were considered to be strange, and they often contradicted what she previously said that she was doing when the murders took place. Officers also said how they disliked her attitude and that she seemed too calm considering the circumstances. Pair that with the fact that she was seen to be destroying a dress that she claimed had wet paint on it, which was presumed to be the dress that she was wearing when the killings were carried out. And also that there were hatchet-type weapons in the basement of the house, one without a handle because it could have been covered in blood. This ultimately led her to be later arrested and made to stand trial for the murder of her stepmother and her father. During the murder trial, Lizzie was actually acquitted for the crimes and was never convicted. There wasn't really enough evidence to convict her. Her presence at the house at the time of the killings was something that did get a large focus. especially seeing as though Sullivan, the housemaid, felt she saw her there, but she had an alibi that said that they saw her leaving the barn shortly after 11, and only then after returning home was it where she found her father dead at around 11:10 and called the maid downstairs. When it came to the jury deliberating, they went away for only around an hour and a half, and when they returned they acquitted Lizzie of the murders, leading her to say that she was the happiest woman in the world. Nobody was ever convicted of the killings. However, 5 days before Lizzie's trial took place, there was another axe murder that occurred in Fall River, where Bertha Manchester was found dead in her kitchen. It was said that there were many similarities between both cases, but Jose Carrera de Mayo, who was convicted of the killing of Bertha, wasn't in Fall River at the time of the other murders. With Lizzie going free, it ultimately led her to live a relatively ostracized life whilst still remaining in Fall River. Both her and her sister remained close until 1905, where Emma moved out following a feud with Nance O'Neill, and they never saw each other again. However, both sisters actually died within a 9-day period, and they were buried side by side in a family plot in Oak Grove Cemetery. So this is definitely going to be a case and a series that'll be interesting to follow. I do wonder why Murphy decided on Lizzie Borden, especially considering that she was never convicted of the killings and she didn't really live a life of crime afterwards. There have also been many adaptations of Lizzie Borden over the years, with Christina Ricci actually portraying her in a TV movie that was released. Considering the Monster series was originally said to be focused on serial killers, which is defined as being somebody who commits 3 or more murders over a period of more than a month, the show has now definitely drifted from what it originally set out to be. I'm hopeful that this can be a good series, but I fear it's just going to be a bit like the Menendez brothers show, which hit its peak in the first episode when the killing took place, and then following that we spent the rest of the series questioning their motive. Time will tell, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. The cast. When it comes to the cast that are going to feature in this series, there are a few cast members that have been announced. The first is Ella Beatty, who's going to be appearing as Lizzie Borden, the suspected killer. She has previously worked with Ryan Murphy as she featured in the 2nd season of Capote vs. the Swans. Rebecca Hall has been cast as Abby Borden, the stepmother to Lizzie. Vicky Creeps is Bridget Sullivan, the maid of the house that was also said to be present there at the time of the murders. It's also said, which I think is a bit strange, that Charlie Hunnam will be featuring in the series again, but this time as Andrew, Lizzie's father who was killed. Billy Lord is said to be Emma Borden, Lizzie's older sister, and Jessica Borden is going to be Nance O'Neill, who's a stage actress whose friendship with Lizzie caused difficulties between her and her sister. Alongside that, I imagine there'll be many other cast members that are going to be announced, but for now, they're the only ones that have officially been confirmed. With Lizzie's uncle being present the night before the murder, and the jury and officers playing a large role in this case, it's going to be interesting to see who gets cast in those roles. In seeing how Ryan Murphy works, it wouldn't surprise me if it's familiar faces from the likes of American Horror Story and other shows that he's made, as he does often like to use people that he's worked with before. The release date. When it comes to the release date, that's something that's purely speculation at the moment. The good news is we know that the show is definitely on the horizon. However, the best way to determine when it could be released is to look back at when the previous shows came out. Dharma came out in September of 2022, and then we had a 2-year wait for the Menendez Brothers show, which aired in September of 2024. However, the wait for Season 3, which was focused on Ed Gein, was only just over a 1-year wait, as that was released on the 3rd of October in 2025, so the gap in time got a lot shorter. My guess is that with the Lizzie Borden story being confirmed earlier on this year, it makes me think that the 4th season could well be released in around a year's time, and hopefully Murphy and the team won't make us wait 2 years for it. The most recent update on the filming of the 4th season is that back in July it was announced that principal photography for Season 4 is set to begin in late 2025. So based on that, I'm predicting that we'll be getting the show in around September or October in 2026. I think it'll stick to an autumn release because it's the best time for it, especially seeing as though it's around the Halloween season. Unfortunately for now, that's all that's known about the upcoming series of Monster. I think this season definitely has the potential to either be the best, or it could do the opposite and be the worst. I say this because Lizzie Borden is probably the most unknown out of them all. It's set in a completely different time period to what we're used to, and she also wasn't convicted of the crimes like the others. So we don't actually know who was truly responsible for the death of her father and stepmother. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch when the show does get released next year. So, there you have it. Monster Season 4, the Lizzie Borden story, everything we know. If you want to see why I feel that Ed Gein's show was a bit of a mess, then check the video below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Are you looking forward to the Lizzie Borden show? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay, so I think it's going to be really good. I'm Fall River biased, obviously, so it's going to be the best one. It's also going to bring so much attention to Lizzie Borden. This is where, in my opinion, the city of Fall River needs to capitalize in conjunction with the Lizzie Borden House and even Miss Lizzie's Coffee, and create Lizzie Borden themed events and all of that to get the word out there even more and capitalize. Similar to Salem, Massachusetts being swarmed every October because of witches. We can do that with Lizzie Borden, but we haven't yet. And we keep getting these national opportunities to do it. There's been multiple movies about Lizzie Borden. Now, a whole season dedicated to her on Netflix. Fall River, can we please capitalize? Now, speaking of capitalized and not capitalizing in Fall River, we're going to wrap this up with video of historical Fall River and the transition to now. Everybody, I want to say thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Be good, be safe, do the right thing, stay out of trouble, treat each other with love, dignity, respect, and all that. You already know what it is. It's your boy Aaron All Nighter. Fall River, you know I'm off this. Peace.
Was the center of the entire American textile universe, and every factory owner, every cotton merchant, and every immigrant family within 500 miles of Boston knew exactly what that name meant. In 1890, if you were wearing a cotton shirt anywhere in America, there was a real chance it had been printed in Fall River. Not probably, not maybe. Real. One city. Over 100 mills, 30,000 workers. And at its absolute peak, Fall River was producing nearly 1/4 of every single yard of cotton print cloth manufactured in the entire United States. That is not local pride talking. That is not a legend people repeat to feel better about where they came from. That is a documented historical fact that almost no one outside southeastern Massachusetts knows today. The smokestacks were visible for miles. The sound of the looms never stopped, not for the weather, not for the cold, not for any reason. Day shift, night shift, 6 days a week. This city was an industrial machine that did not turn off. Immigrants from Portugal, Ireland, and French Canada came by the thousands because the work was real, the pay was steady, and this was the place your parents brought you to build something permanent. This was the wealthiest textile empire in the history of the United States, and it is completely gone. To understand what Fall River became, you have to start with geography, because geography is exactly why Fall River and not some other city. The city sits on the eastern shore of Mount Hope Bay, where the Quahog River drops nearly 130 feet in less than a mile before emptying into the harbor. In the early 19th century, before electricity existed, and long before steam power was cheap or reliable, that kind of natural elevation drop meant one thing: free mechanical power. You did not need coal, you did not need steam, the water did the work for you. The first serious cotton mill went up here in 1813. By the 1820s, a man named Richard Borden had seen the larger picture. He was not thinking about one mill, he was thinking about an entire industrial city. He built ironworks. He established a direct railroad line to Boston. He developed the port so that ships could arrive carrying raw cotton from the south and leave carrying finished fabric bound for markets up and down the coast. He recruited capital from investors in Boston and Providence who understood that Fall River's geography made it a near-perfect site for large-scale manufacturing. The Durfee family followed, then the Chases. Then dozens of smaller investors who recognized what Borden had built and wanted a share of it. Over the next 50 years, this city was systematically built into one of the most concentrated manufacturing operations in the Western world. What separated Fall River from other textile cities was the model. In places like Lowell, mill owners kept workers in company housing, under company oversight, inside a controlled environment that was not entirely unlike indentured servitude dressed up in New England clothing. Fall River ran differently. Workers rented or owned their own homes in tight ethnic neighborhoods clustered around the mills. They built their own churches, ran their own institutions, and formed communities that belonged to them, not to the men who owned the looms. It was not generous. It was not without exploitation. But it allowed something to grow here that company towns never could deep roots. By 1875, Fall River was producing approximately 1/4 of all cotton print cloth manufactured in the United States. By 1880, 34 cotton mills were operating inside the city limits. By 1895, that number had grown to over 100, running an estimated 2.5 million spindles around the clock. The American Printing Company, founded in 1880, had grown into one of the largest cotton printing operations, not just in America, but in the entire world. This was not a regional manufacturer quietly producing fabric for New England department stores. This was a global industrial enterprise, and Fall River was its home. The wealth that poured out of those buildings built something extraordinary. The Fall River line was the crown jewel. Since 1847, luxury overnight steamships had been running between Fall River and New York City. By the 1890s, the Fall River line had become the single most traveled domestic water route in the entire United States. You boarded in New York after dinner, slept in a stateroom, and woke up in Fall River the next morning in time to catch the train to Boston. In 1894, the steamship Priscilla launched one of the most lavishly appointed inland vessels in the world. Carved mahogany paneling, electric chandeliers in the dining saloon, parlors and formal staterooms that rivaled anything available on dry land. At peak season, you had to book a year in advance just to get a room. The trip that once cost a fraction of what travel costs today delivered more luxury than most Americans could find anywhere else. The neighborhoods of Fall River were built around that energy. The South End became the heart of Portuguese American life in southeastern New England, filled with churches, bakeries, social clubs, and a cultural density that has never fully disappeared. The Flint neighborhood, the Globe Mills district. Every block within walking distance of a mill was organized around the shift change and the rhythm of working-class immigrant life. Up on Highland Avenue, the mill owners' mansions stood in a row like trophies Victorian architecture. Imported stone, landscaped grounds, looking down over the smokestacks that paid for all of it. These were the men who had ripped the heart out of every competing textile region in the country and concentrated the industry right here in one place. And they were not quiet about it. Fall River in 1900 had over 104,000 people. It was dense, productive, and alive in the particular way that only cities built around real work tend to be. Nobody was getting wealthy working the looms. But there were jobs for your father and your grandfather and your children if they wanted them, and there was a neighborhood that knew your name. That world was about to be taken apart, deliberately, piece by piece. In the early 1920s, something started happening to the economics of Fall River, and the mill owners understood it before anyone on the factory floor did. New cotton mills were opening in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Alabama, and they were undercutting Fall River on cost by margins that could not be explained away or absorbed. Southern wages ran 30 to 50% lower than Massachusetts rates. Workers in those states had no union protection and no leverage. State governments were offering tax incentives that Massachusetts would never match. And those southern mills were not running on Victorian-era machinery. They were brand new, with modern equipment, lower operating costs, and access to the cotton fields at their back door. Fall River's mills were old. Some of the equipment had been running for 30 years or more. Modernizing would have required enormous capital investment at exactly the moment when margins were already being squeezed. And the ownership class of Fall River faced a choice that they did not agonize over for very long. They could reinvest in the city that had made them wealthy. They could modernize, compete, and protect the 30,000 jobs that their families' mills had created over the previous century. Or they could extract every remaining dollar from the existing machinery and leave. Between 1923 and 1933, Fall River lost more than 40% of its textile employment. Mill after mill either closed entirely or relocated south, stripping equipment from buildings that had stood for decades and shipping it to states where labor was cheap and regulation was minimal. They did it legally. One machine at a time, one permit at a time. A money grab executed in slow motion while an entire city watched. The workers who had given generations of their lives to these buildings watched the machinery disappear from the floors around them. The writing was on the wall in letters 30 feet high. And then 1928 arrived and broke what little remained. That year, Fall River's textile manufacturers announced a 10% wage cut across the board, citing competitive pressure from the South. Workers who had already watched their industry hollow out around them refused. The strike that followed brought approximately 25,000 workers off the floor and lasted the better part of a year. No side won. The mills that survived it came out so financially weakened that most would not survive the Depression arriving 2 years later. The owners who had already begun the process of leaving used the strike as their final public justification for decisions made years before. They destroyed their own identity. They called it a business decision. The people of Fall River called it abandonment. Both things were true. After 1929, the closures became a cascade. Fall River had no cushion left. The mills that had survived 1928 by the thinnest margins closed inside 18 months of the crash. Entire mill complexes that had employed thousands of workers were emptied, machinery stripped, payrolls zeroed, gates locked. By the mid-1930s, the brick buildings were still standing because they were built to last a century, but the industry that had filled them was gone. In 1937, the Fall River Line ended service. The overnight luxury steamships to New York, the same connection that had made this city feel like the center of the commercial world for 90 years, stopped running. The official reason was competition from automobiles and the Depression. What it really meant was that the passenger base, the merchants, the mill owners, The commerce had ceased to exist in the form that had sustained the route. And that was just the beginning. Some mills briefly reopened during the Second World War to supply military fabric contracts. The reprieve did not last. The underlying structural problem had not changed. Southern textile production was cheaper, more modern, and expanding. Fall River's remaining industry continued to bleed out through the 1950s. The American Printing Company, the last major anchor of what had once been the city's industrial identity, finally closed in 1968. The 1960s brought urban renewal, the federal program that was supposed to rescue struggling American cities, and instead delivered a concrete maze where neighborhoods used to be. In Fall River, entire blocks of immigrant-built housing that had stood for a century were condemned and demolished to make way for highway infrastructure. Route 79 cut along the waterfront, severing the historic connection between the Mill District and the harbor that had made the city's commerce possible in the first place. I-195 reshaped the city's approaches. Block after block of the working-class neighborhoods that the Portuguese and Irish and French-Canadian communities had built over 3 generations were simply removed. The families that had stayed, and many had, because this was home, because 3 generations of their family were buried here, watched their physical city demolished around them, one permit at a time. By 1960, Fall River's population had fallen below 99,000. By 2000, it stood at 91,000. The tax base that had once funded one of the most productive cities in New England had evaporated, leaving behind infrastructure sized for a city that no longer existed. By the 1980s and 1990s, Fall River was dealing with something that almost nobody in the official economic reports wanted to name directly. The crack epidemic hit post-industrial New England cities hard in those decades. Fall River was not spared. The storefronts emptied by the departure of retail businesses in the 1970s became something else. The neighborhoods that had been working-class immigrant communities for 3 and 4 generations transformed around the people still living in them. Nobody will say it out loud in the development literature. But the mom-and-pop businesses that had survived the mills leaving, that had kept their doors open through the Depression and urban renewal and 40 years of managed decline, started closing early on certain nights. Then they stopped opening certain days. The restaurants that had been fixtures of South End life for 30 years quietly put up for lease signs and never came back. The elderly residents, the Portuguese grandmothers on fixed income who had outlasted everything this city had thrown at them, found their streets changing in ways they had not expected and could not stop. The families stopped coming first. Then the businesses followed. Anyone who was in Fall River during those years knows exactly what happened next, and they do not need a documentary to tell them. Here is what is still there. The mill buildings never came down. The massive brick structures that defined Fall River's skyline for a century and a half are still standing, most of them. Some have been converted into apartments, lofts, and mixed-use commercial space. It turns out that Victorian industrial construction, stripped of its looms and retrofitted with modern windows and plumbing, makes excellent housing. The bones of the empire are solid. Whatever else the ownership class took when they left, they could not take the walls. The Portuguese American community never left. The Feast of the Blessed Sacrament, held every August, is one of the largest Portuguese cultural festivals in all of North America. 4 days of food, music, and a culture that outlasted the mills, the highway projects, and everything else the 20th century delivered to this city. That community is real. It is still there. It was there before any of the mill owners' mansions were built, and it is there now that those mansions are mostly gone. And there are investors today who look at Fall River's location between Providence and Boston, on the water, with genuine historic architecture and real estate prices that Boston priced out 30 years ago and see something worth rebuilding. In recent years, Fall River has appeared on lists of the fastest growing real estate markets in Massachusetts, driven in large part by buyers priced out of Boston looking for something within commuting distance. The waterfront development conversation has been running for 3 decades. Some of it has materialized. Much of it has not. But the honest question, the one Fall River has been asking itself without a clean answer for 50 years, is whether you can rebuild the identity of a place once its identity has been extracted and shipped elsewhere. The mill owners took the capital and the equipment. The federal government took the neighborhoods. The drug epidemic took the street-level economy. What is left is a city with extraordinary bones and no industry to give them purpose. Whether anyone figures out what goes inside those mills is a question that has not been answered yet. Fall River was not destroyed by an act of nature. No storm ripped the heart out of this city. No flood, no fire, no earthquake. It was destroyed by a calculation, a deliberate decision made by men who had inherited wealth built on immigrant labor men who lived well in their mansions on the hill for decades and who decided when the margins tightened that extraction was more profitable than investment and that leaving was easier than staying. They stripped the machinery from buildings their grandfathers had built. They moved the jobs to states where workers had no leverage and costs were lower. They broke a city of over 100,000 people without a single dramatic moment, without a villain anyone could point to on a specific day. They did it legally. They did it quietly. And they left the people who had built that empire with the debt and the empty buildings and the question of what comes next. The smokestacks are still standing over Fall River. The Portuguese community is still there. The mills are still there. But the empire, the wealthiest textile empire in the history of the United States, did not fall because it could not compete. It was abandoned by the people who built it the moment it became more profitable to leave than to stay. Greed did what no hurricane ever could. If you grew up in Fall River, or if your family came through those mills, tell us what we missed in the comments below. The people who lived it always know more than the history books do.
All-nighter. Street magic. Chopped in silence. Kelly Azul on the beat. Need y'all to take a ride with me. I'm just a kid from Fall River, what I know. Riding through my city that they're gentrifying, market rate housing while there's homeless dying. And I know that they're trying cause this program's out there, but I ain't reaching out there. They ain't reaching out there. Empty storefronts, internet to blame. Gotta move different if nothing is the same. Entertainment venues, bringing nightlife. Transparent police, body cams that's live. I mean live stream they whole shift. Personal info can censor it. Even though when involving police it becomes public info. But that's a different topic for a different tempo. Back to my city that they're gentrifying. Panhandlers on the Ave and the addicts dying. Parents crying, losing kids. Half my generation that are doing bids. So how are we gonna get to the youth? Teach them right and wrong when not to shoot. Started young in kindergarten. Mental health class, your brain's a garden. Teach them all about their feelings. The senior year, let's start the healing. Since tech's here to stay, let's teach with VR. Let's build that way. But what do I know? What can I say? I'm just a kid from Fall River. It's just my observations. Chopped in silence. Kelly Azul on the beat. It's all-nighter.